of course, front page of every newspaper today. Jeremy Corbyn is suspended from the Labour Party. It's interesting that that is the front page. Is that the front page Sir Keir Starmer wanted, as opposed to the damning indictment of Labour's failures under Jeremy Corbyn? Yeah, but as a Labour Party, it wasn't just one man, as we've been hearing from guests this morning, saying that it's Jeremy Corbyn being focused on rather than the Labour Party having that damning assessment from the Equality and Human Rights Commission report, talking about, well, not necessarily institutional anti-Semitism, but certainly a grand scale of the problem. It certainly wasn't down to just one person. But let's talk about this with Lord Andrew Adonis. He's a Labour peer and joins us. Good morning to you.
Good morning,
Good morning. There's no doubt at all, Sir Keir Starmer was very clear. The moment he became leader of the Labour Party, he said, there's no place for anti-Semitism in the party. He reached out to the Jewish community. The decision to suspend Jeremy Corbyn yesterday, I mean, that was a godsend to him, wasn't it? Jeremy Corbyn saying that the anti-Semitism claims have been dramatically overstated. For that, Jeremy Corbyn is suspended from the Labour Party as its membership, and he's had a whip removed as a Labour MP. Is that the right response? And if so, is it enough?
Well, it's truly astonishing what Jeremy Corbyn did yesterday after all of the horror of the last 5 years of mounting cases of anti-Semitism, of people on the far left being closely identified with it, including people quite close to Jeremy Corbyn, including people on Labour's National Executive Committee, and of him, on the one hand, insisting he was dealing with it, but on the other hand, it not actually being dealt with properly. We come to the crisis point where an independent body which is charged with looking at this issue delivers a very comprehensive, a huge report, which is also damning in its detail. And in a 3-paragraph statement, Jeremy Corbyn dismisses it and says the claims are exaggerated, which sort of sums up all the problem that there's been in the last 5 years. And I think Keir Starmer did absolutely the right thing in saying, we've got to draw a line under this, and that means that Jeremy Corbyn can't be part of the Labour Party's future.
And Sir Keir Starmer thinks that Jeremy Corbyn is a big part of the problem. He's accepted the Commission's recommendations and their judgment. And yet, only a few months ago, I'm sorry to keep coming back to this, everybody, but it doesn't sit very well with me, because we spoke to people like Lord Ian Austin yesterday, who left the Labour Party over this issue, and many others did as well, Luciana Berger and others. Meanwhile, Sir Keir Starmer was happily sitting in the shadow cabinet campaigning for Jeremy Corbyn to be Prime Minister of this country. How can he have done that if he thinks Jeremy Corbyn is a part of the anti-Semitism problem?
Well, you may have noticed, Julia, from my appearances on your programme over the years, that I've never said anything complimentary about Jeremy Corbyn. But I didn't go to the length of leaving the Labour Party, because I took the view that the Labour Party belonged to us and not to him. That it was to mainstream social democrats.
You don't have to leave the party, but you maybe not sit in his shadow cabinet.
Well, these are difficult judgments. What Keir Starmer was clearly seeking to do, and I agreed with the strategy, was a reverse takeover of the Labour Party. It's roughly what Tony Blair did when Labour was in the grip of the left 20 years ago. If you hold mainstream, sensible, social democratic ideas like me, Keir Starmer, Tony Blair, what you want is a better society, but you also want a properly functioning economy, and you want to bring the whole country together, then obviously you're not going to have much truck with people like Jeremy Corbyn and the Marxist far left. But there are people like that in the Labour Party, just as I'm afraid there are racists in the Conservative Party. So what you have to do is stay in the party and seek to take it over from them. And there are different ways of doing that. And I'm not sitting in judgment on what's the best way, because to be absolutely blunt, I think Labour MPs should have voted Jeremy Corbyn out before the last election. We knew that he was both a loser and that he was really serious bad news for Labour and the country. And we all had to work out the right way of seeking to get to the right solution.
Wouldn't the right thing to do be saying, I'm staying in the party, this is my party, but I will not campaign to elect this man to be leader of this country because of his views on Jewish people and anti-Semitism. And but that's not what Sir Keir Starmer did. He campaigned to get a Labour Prime Minister into power.
Well, the real problem last year, and I felt it very, very acutely, because as you know, though we were on different sides of the argument, I was very engaged in what was the single biggest issue facing the country last year, which was Brexit. The real problem is that you can only have one leader at a time. And if it's not your leader, the leader of your party, then it's the leader of the Conservative Party, it's the other party. And the problem we had last year, and it was a chronic problem for sensible people like me, was you were in a race to the bottom. You had Jeremy Corbyn, who clearly wasn't fit to be Prime Minister, but you had Boris Johnson, who, in my honest judgment, was even less fit to be Prime Minister. And what do you do?
Hold on a minute.
In the centre ground of politics,
I never drank the Boris Johnson Kool-Aid, and he knows. He and I have had conversations about this. But he was going to deliver Brexit, and that was good enough for me. But I'm sorry, you'd rather have an anti-Semite in number 10 than Boris Johnson. And can you sip your tea a bit more quietly when you're on my show, please?
I was just explaining to you the problem, and it was a real problem. The right solution to this was, of course, to have voted Jeremy Corbyn out as leader of the Labour Party before the last election, and I was strongly in favour of that course.
No, you said that, but that wasn't the choice at the time.
Unfortunately, because that didn't happen, there was a straight choice which people like Keir Starmer and me faced last year, which is, who do you want to be Prime Minister, Boris Johnson
or an anti-Semite?
Now, the crucial thing now, Julia, is to see that the country never faces that choice again.
Well, of course it was.
We actually put a proper choice before the country, somebody who we clearly want to be Prime Minister, as opposed to being the least worst option.
You can keep talking as long as you want. I'm going to make you answer this question. Why did you think an anti-Semite in number 10 was a better option than Boris Johnson? For all of Boris Johnson's failings, for everything he said or done that you don't like, even for Brexit, you thought it was okay for hundreds of thousands of our Jewish compatriots to be fearful for their and their families' lives, to talk about emigrating from the country because they didn't feel safe. And you thought, yeah, but it's better than Brexit. Are you serious?
No, let me be clear what I'm saying.
That is what
Jeremy
you're saying.
Corbyn was not fit to be Prime Minister. I'm absolutely clear about that, and you've given reasons why. But Boris Johnson was even less fit to be Prime Minister because he's simply not capable of performing the functions of the job.
Wait, sorry.
He's a proven liar.
Sorry, we know that.
He himself has had serious trouble with people who are on the far right, who've been behind his Brexit campaign.
Oh,
this
give me a
terrible, terrible choice facing the
country. Andrew, genuinely, I'm embarrassed for you. You think that there are many criticisms to make about Boris Johnson. That the idea that he's in with the far right. I mean, genuinely, if you're saying
he was in league with Nigel Farage, who I think is
not far
totally
right.
Unacceptable to have it. That's definitely
Andrew,
far right.
Genuinely,
that's the
Andrew's
xenophobic
not far right
of this country, and I don't think we should have any truck with that any more than we should have any truck with anti-Semitism.
Genuinely embarrassed for you for that. Really am. 7:59 is the time. Lord Andrew Adonis, Labour peer. Thank you very much.